Donald Trump may be the most hostile U.S. president toward China, yet China might actually prefer him. To Beijing, he may be less of a threat and more of an opportunity. 2 years ago, during the U.S. presidential race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, one question dominated the media. Who does China want to win? At the time, most people believed the answer was simple. China would prefer Biden, a predictable leader, a traditional system. Trump, on the other hand, had already launched a brutal trade war. He attacked China constantly. So logically, China should fear him. But that assumption may be completely wrong. In March 2024, journalist James Mann wrote something surprising. He argued China may actually want Trump to win. Why? First, Trump is predictable in one specific way: his ego. He believes he alone can fix problems through deals, and that often leads to chaos. Second, and more importantly, China's biggest fear is not Trump. It's alliances. Under Biden, the U.S. strengthened partnerships across the world: Europe, Asia, NATO. But Trump? He weakens them, mocks allies, creates division, and for China, a divided America is an advantage. Now here's where things get serious. In 2025, Trump returned to power, and soon after, the United States entered a war with Iran. Trump believed it would end quickly. It didn't. The war escalated, energy prices surged, and American soldiers started coming home in coffins. Suddenly, this wasn't a quick victory, it was a trap. Despite overwhelming firepower, the U.S. failed to achieve its goals. At first, the objectives were clear: regime change, destroy Iran's nuclear program, eliminate missile capabilities. But over time, those goals started disappearing. They became unrealistic. And as the war dragged on, the costs exploded. Higher energy prices, depleted military resources, growing public anger. So the question became, what did America actually gain? And this is where a new argument appeared. Some politicians claimed this war wasn't about Iran, it was about China. The idea was simple: control oil, cut China off from energy, and weaken its economy. Sounds strategic. But there's a problem. It doesn't hold up. China only relied on Venezuela for about 4% of its oil. From Iran, about 13%. Important? Yes. Critical? No. China can replace that supply. But here's the real twist. The oil China truly depends on comes from U.S. allies: Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iraq. Over 43% of China's oil. So if the U.S. really wanted to hurt China, that's where it would act. But it doesn't, because it can't. The global oil market doesn't work that way. If supply drops, prices rise for everyone, including the United States. Meanwhile, China was preparing. For years, it built massive energy reserves, invested in electric vehicles, renewables, and domestic production, turning itself into an electrified economy. So while the world struggles, China adapts. But the biggest advantage isn't energy, it's geopolitics. The war drained U.S. military resources, so much that defending Taiwan may now be harder. And rebuilding those resources could take years. At the same time, America's alliances are weakening. Some allies refused to support the war. Trust is declining. And for China, this is the perfect scenario. A weaker United States, less trusted, less united, less capable of leading the world. So now, we're left with one final question. Was this all part of a strategy or a massive mistake? Because right now, China isn't reacting. It's watching, waiting. So the real question is, will China take advantage of this moment and move on Taiwan?